new purse, okay? And my response will be, do you need one or do you want one? Those are two different things. Okay, so what you want is not necessarily what you need. Okay, okay. Does everybody know their responsibility vis-a-vis customer focus, and have they been trained? So one of the training programs that we offer our faculty and our staff at the university every year is coping with difficult people. How to handle difficult people. Okay. So it's like a customer service training. It's a very popular program. So we offer it every year. Every one of our new professors, okay, especially those who are straight out of graduate school, straight out of doctoral programs. Okay. So one of the things that they have to do is to attend orientation. One of the subjects in their orientation is how to deal with the difficult students, how to deal with the students who create a lot of disturbances and so on. You know who I'm talking about. Okay, so we have that kind of training. Have you documented the inputs and outputs from your students and stakeholders? Okay, and this also includes not only collecting the information, but actually analyzing them. And finding out, okay, coming up with the findings and then doing corrective action in response to those findings. I gave you the example from my own university about the satisfaction survey. We did a cause and effect analysis of our findings, and then, well, we found out that there were two main themes. One is the value for money, and then the second is bringing the beauty of the outside in. You know, there are complaints about facilities, and then we created an action plan in response to those. Do you customize your actions for key student and stakeholder groups? And you can only customize if their needs and requirements are different. Okay? Because if they're the same, what do you customize? Nothing. Okay? So let's say, and most of you segment your students by what? By the discipline that they study. That's what I heard the most. By the class level that by the class level. Okay. I was an advisor to a business school in Dubai, okay, at UAE. Okay. An important segmentation for them is male-female. Okay. Because all the male students, they go to one campus. The female students, they go to one campus. Or sometimes they go to the same campus, same classroom. In the middle of the classroom, there's a curtain. Okay. Okay, so that's segmentation. So different types of services for the boys, different types of services for the girls. So gender could be a segmentation basis too. Okay. One segmentation basis for in the United States is racial background, ethnic background. Okay. Asian students, the Latino students, okay, the white students, so they all have different needs. Okay. Different needs. Okay, so and we have services to cater to those. Okay. Okay. Now. Let's talk about performance measurement. Category 4. And we will continue with our case study of University of Wisconsin-South. So there's continuity here. And for the most part, I will deal with the issue of performance measurement. And this is how they determine their performance measures. They all start with their mission, vision, values, stakeholder needs. They're translated into goals, and then action plans, and then key performance indicators for which they establish targets. They have comparative data or benchmarks. They measure trend data on those, and they segment those when appropriate, and they ensure data integrity, reliability, validity, confidentiality, and then they evaluate the effectiveness of their performance indicators. okay, indicator effectiveness. So they actually align their measures and indicators, identify action plans, identify resource implications, evaluate benchmark comparisons. And by benchmark, if you go back to the example I gave this morning about my own institution, there are 3 benchmark schools that we look at. The first would be our competitors. The second would be your comparable peers. Comparable peers would be those that have similar student demographic, student faculty demographics to similar programs that you offer. Okay? These are your look-alikes, okay, your comparable peers. And then the last group would be your aspirant institutions, those that you aspire to, okay? So they do that too, and then they define and track their key measures. So, they have a 4-step process. Their 4-step process, the first step is select key indicators. The second step is identify and measure targets, comparative data, segments, and trends. Third step, assure data integrity. Assuring data integrity in terms of the criteria, this is item 4.2, right? Management of information, data information, and information technology. And then the fourth is evaluating indicator effectiveness. So when you take a look at the system of University of Wisconsin Stout, it's an integrated system in the sense that 4.1 and 4.2 requirements are there in that same process that they have. So step 1 is selecting key indicators that come from university-wide goals, that come from their strategic planning process. They come from the department-wide goals. BPA is the Business Planning and Analysis Department. It's like their institutional research. Okay? Business Planning and Analysis Department provides consultation and assistance. Okay? Step 1, the key indicators, they are broad in nature. They are balanced in the sense that they cover students and stakeholders, not only students, and they are also involved in evaluating the performance of their various processes. By processes, I mean the education delivery, education design, their business support processes, okay, are all part of this performance measurement. What are the sources of data? They come from academic affairs, they come from the administrative department, and they come from IT. IT generates some of their data, like enrollment data, they're automatically generated. Okay. If I can digress a bit, our IT, our Information Technology Department, embarked on a major study last year. They looked at the scheduling patterns of the week, like the different days of the week, when are the classes being scheduled, okay, how many students are showing up on campus at different days of the week. By the way, we are a 7-day operation, so we have classes all the way 7 days a week. Most of our graduate classes are taught on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. Okay. So what we found out, okay, for some reason, we don't have classes on Friday afternoons. A lot of people want to go home early. So we started mandating Friday afternoon. So we found out that our students are on campus at different times of the week, and that there are actually variations which affect what? Okay, because we are a campus that do not have a lot of dormitories. Because we have 2,300 students, our dormitories can only accommodate 500 students, which means that many of our students commute, okay? Even if they live nearby, so they have to drive into the university. Which means that if you have erratic patterns in student traffic, guess what will be affected? Parking. You don't have a place to park, okay? And I'm sure in your parking, especially in an urban campus, is a difficulty, right? And in California, public transportation is bad. The bus system is not as good as here. So So we had to level out the scheduling, so we had to change our classroom scheduling in order to accommodate the traffic pattern. And our campus is situated in the middle of a neighborhood. We don't want our students to park in front of our neighbors' houses. Okay? So we want them to park on campus. And so we wanted to make sure that our class schedules are conducive to students actually parking on campus as opposed to parking in our neighbors' houses. Okay? So that's an example of information provided by IT, okay, on something that, on a problem that eventually we have to solve. Okay. Step 2, set targets. And these targets are based on the strategic plans. Step 2 also includes setting comparative data and benchmarks. Okay. There was a study conducted in the U.S. sometime back in 2000. It's called the Measuring Up 2000 study. It's a national benchmarking study of schools, okay, of the best schools in the country. So that's a source of benchmark. And these comparative data comes from the need for these comparative data. They come from the strategic planning process, initiatives from the Board of Regents, from the different councils and committees. Step 2 also includes gathering data on the different segments, segmenting the data that we have. As I mentioned, these are data could be segmented by gender, by ethnicity, by age, by disability status, residency. Residency means, are they from the state or out of state? Are they from the U.S. or are they the national students? Graduate versus undergraduate, most of you do that. Academic program, I've heard a lot of that today. A transfer student is a student who did not begin in your school. So they came from another school, they transferred to your school as a third-year student for the most part. Class level means first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. And employment classification, this is a segmentation for employees. Okay. Full-time, part-time, temporary, permanent, teacher, non-teacher. So those are examples of this employee classification. Okay. Step 2 also includes collecting data on trends. Okay. And some of the data that they have at Stout are historical data, date back to the past 25 years. Universities have possess a lot of data. Okay. The problem that we have is we don't get to use them. So we collect information, collect. But we don't analyze them. Okay. Imagine the amount of grading distribution data that you have in your registrar's offices. All the marks that were given, all the types of classes that students have taken, they're all sitting in your registrar's office. Imagine if someone can just sit down and figure out what are the most popular courses in this university. Okay? Or what are the courses where most students get only A's? Okay. What are the courses where there's a high failure rate? So that's the kind of historical data analysis that the University of Wisconsin Stout does. Step 3 is data integrity. This is when you scrub the data, ensure that it's reliable, accurate. Okay. This is when you deal with network uptime, downtime, response time, validity, confidentiality. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights Protection Act. Okay. It's the Confidentiality Act. This is the law that says I cannot look at my daughter's grades. Okay. I cannot call her school and ask for her grades without her permission. Okay. So confidentiality. Okay. Then step 4 is indicator effectiveness. So what are some of the ways by which What are some of the analyses that are undertaken with this data? That the data is the source of SWOT analyses, they do inferential statistics, descriptive statistics, they do monitoring, data projections and scenarios, and then database studies. Okay? And these analyses are used for strategic planning, decision making, integration of processes, identifying areas for improvement, and deploying actions and action plans throughout the organization. And these, in terms of, again, part of indicator effectiveness is that goals, actions, measures, and analyses, okay, are then communicated via newsletters, forums, meetings, letters to the community, reports, the web, an intranet site that they have, okay, a web link. Okay. So the four-step process is utilized to link to the strategic planning process, to allow for broad organization-wide participation, contribute to widespread deployment and access to data, and then integrate the review and feedback loop. Okay. We go to workshop 6. Last workshop of the day. I don't think we will finish it today, but you can start working on it. We will focus on those items, we will focus on those requirements that most directly relate to what we just talked about. Okay. Write it down. In workshop number 6, go to page 71. Okay. The top table. Okay. Page 74. The two tables. 74, the two tables. Page 75. 4.1C1, best practice sharing. That's 3 already, right? And the problem with 4.2 is that you need to have your IT person in the room. Is there an IT person here? No? Okay. So we will... Okay, the last one is page 80, 4.2B1. Okay, and then you do part 3. It is now 5:09. Okay, so do this. You discuss among yourselves until about 5:30. We will continue this tomorrow morning. Okay. Yes.
For tomorrow, for the workshop, what do you need to report? Perhaps tomorrow night?
Oh. Okay, so you go through that process, right? You go through the process with the worksheets, okay? So what you'll be reporting, good question, by the way. Output oriented. Begin with the end in mind, okay? You will report the performance measures, okay, that you identified. What I'd like you to strive is to identify if your chief executive asks you, what do you recommend should be the top 10 performance measures that we should collect at the university? What should they be? No more than 10 at the top level. And these performance measures should cover, they should be comprehensive, okay? They should cover student learning, they should cover your stakeholders, they should cover, by stakeholders, I mean some kind of satisfaction or engagement of your stakeholders. They should cover finances, budget, they should cover something about your faculty and staff, your employee satisfaction, employee engagement, and they should cover something about your processes, efficiencies, like in the organization. So, in a sense, take a look at the requirements for Category 7. You can see the items in 7. You've got student learning and process result, outcomes. You got customer-focused outcomes, you got workforce outcomes, okay, leadership outcomes, and then you have financial and market. So those are the categories that you do. So no more than 10 measures. Okay. And then, okay, for each one of those 10, so you then identify, you then ask yourself, do we have data on these measures? Okay. Do we have trend data on these measures? Do we have benchmark information on these measures? How often do we collect these measures? Okay. So that's what I would ask you to report. Okay, so you would report the performance measures, no more than 10. What can you tell us about those measures in terms of how frequently do you collect them? How frequently do you collect them? Do you have trend information on those measures? That's the second one. First one is frequency. Second one is trend information on those measures. Third one is, do you have comparative data for those measures? Okay. And be sure that you will be able to collect data on those measures. Okay. Because next workshop we do, okay, not today, not tomorrow, okay, I'll ask you for information about those measures. Okay, no more than 10. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, tomorrow, can we please begin at 8:30 tomorrow, not 9 o'clock? 8:30, okay, 8:30. 8:30, okay? 8:30 tomorrow, so that we will finish on time, especially because we're behind by about an hour.
Right.